Everyone, welcome to my lecture on watershed, its characteristics, classification, and deterioration in the watershed. So we'll see one by one. Let's see what are the components of watershed. So a watershed is a physical entity which consists of natural elements in it, such as plants, trees of various sizes and types, which grow over various types of soils or rock layers. So these plants or trees grow over various types of soils. It also comprises of all the artificial elements such as roads, bridges, tunnels, buildings, boreholes, etc., which are mostly introduced by the human beings or sometimes by other animals for their shelter purposes. A watershed is a basic unit of a hydrological unit. So it is the unit on which the hydrological cycle is based. On the land surface, it is a geographical unit in which the hydrological cycle and its components can be analyzed. So it is the basic unit on which the hydrological cycle fully works on it. Usually, a watershed is defined as that area that appears on the basis of topography to contribute all the water that passes through a given point of a stream. So that area which contributes the water to the stream, water from a given point to the stream is a part of watershed. It comprises, we have seen, all the natural and artificial features such as buildings, roads, and all the man-made features. So watershed is a synonym of catchment or basin wherein rainwater or storm water gets collected from an area enclosed by a ridge line. So this water eventually flows through the various drainage channels drop by drop, which merge with one another to form one or rarely more than one outfall. So these channels merge within a period of time with one another to form a one stream or more than one stream. Thus, a watershed is defined as area enclosed within a watershed line. So, an area which encloses the within a watershed line is called as watershed. So, in this course, that is Engine 121, the word watershed is used for a small basin or a small catchment area which represents a hydrological cycle which will drain that area which drains all its rainwater into a stream. That area is defined as watershed. So you can see, so this area, you can see the red area is called as watershed. Okay, that area is called as watershed. So classification is based mainly on the basis of first size and then land use. So on the basis of size, it is classified as small, medium and large watersheds. You can see the areas constitute less than 250 km square, between 250 to 2500 km square and greater than 2500 km square. So as the size increases, the storage of water also increases. So small watersheds, as the area is small, so there is very less time for the percolation or infiltration of the water into the soil. So overland flow and land phase are dominant in this type of watershed. Similarly, channel phase, there are very less area for the development of water channels or stream channels. Also, watershed is very sensitive, or if the high intensity rainfall occur for even during the short duration, if the very high intensity rainfall occurs during the short duration, then the area or the watershed may get flooded as the area for storage of water is very less. Next is the medium watershed, in which the workability in these watershed is easy due to accessible approach. The shape of the watershed will play a dominant role for the efficient drainage of water. In these watershed also overland flow and land phase is predominant. Number 3 is the large watershed. So these are very less sensitive to high intensity rainfalls of short duration. So if very high intensity rainfall for short duration falls in these watershed, they are not that much hampered. The watershed is not that much hampered due to this rainfall. They can sustain this type of rainfalls. So the channel in this watershed, the channel networks and channel phase are well developed. So various channels of streams get developed in this type of watershed. Next is the classification based on the land use. So these are classified as agricultural, urban, mountainous, forest, desert, coastal or marsh, and mixed combination of two or more of the previous classification. So we'll see one by one. So agricultural watershed. So it is a watershed in which agricultural activities or crop cultivation is dominant. Most of the land is utilized for crop cultivation. So it experiences the most dynamically significant land use change. In agriculture, you can see 2 to 3 crops are 2 to 3 types of crops or more than that are grown according to the season. So the land use change is significant in this type of watershed. This usually leads to increased infiltration. There is very increased infiltration of water. Also the erosion is also increased. Erosion of the soil is also increased and decreased runoff. There is lesser development of streams in agricultural watersheds because there are crops in the agricultural watersheds. The soil structure is altered by regular application of organic or inorganic manure. There is regular application of organic or inorganic manure in this type of watersheds. Due to this, the soil structure will be altered after a period of time. So which will in turn leads to change infiltration characteristics. After some period, the infiltration characteristics of the soil may change. Next is the urban watershed. So all the cities where the human population is higher, so this comprises of the urban watershed. So these comprise or dominated by buildings, roads, streets, pavements and parking lots. This also features reduce these features, the above features reduce the infiltrating land area, especially the roads, which will reduce the infiltration of the water. The drainage systems are artificially built, so the natural pattern of water flow is changed or altered. Infiltration is considerably reduced. As a result, if the drainage system is not properly developed or poor, so whenever there is rainfall, high intensity rainfall, there is chances of flooding. There is very chances of flooding. Next is the forest watershed. So the watersheds under natural forest cover. In this, evapotranspiration is predominant. The ground in these watershed or forest watershed is littered with leaves, stems, branches, roots. You cannot see a clear road or path in this watershed. You have to run over the leaves, stems, branches, roots, etc. Whenever it rains, the water is held by the trees and the ground cover, provided greater opportunity to infiltrate. There is a greater infiltration inside the forest watershed. The subsurface flow will become dominant. There is less surface runoff or no surface runoff. There is very less overland flow. Because of this, the peak discharge is reduced. If these forests are cut off, this could increase the annual watering because of the surface runoff will increase by 20 to 40%, but later you have to pay for it. Next is the mountainous watershed, which constitute of high altitude regions. Because of these high altitudes, such watersheds will receive considerable amount of snowfall. These watersheds will comprise of very steep slopes or steep gradients and relatively porous soils. Due to this steep slopes, there is less infiltration and the surface runoff is predominant or dominantly high. These areas which the areas which are downstream to the mountains are very much vulnerable to the flooding as the runoff surface runoff is high. Whenever the snow melts, the water yield is significant. There is very much chances of water yield even during the spring or even during the summer because of the sun melts the snow. Next is the desert watershed. So these watersheds, in these watersheds there is little to virtually no vegetation. Also the soil is mostly sandy type and little annual rainfall. In these watersheds very minimal or no stream development occurs, as there is whenever there is rainfall, most of it is either absorbed by the porous soil, some of it evaporates because of the temperature, and the remaining runs off, but while running it soaks it into the soil. There is limited groundwater recharge due to very less rainfall in these watersheds. Next is the coastal watersheds. We have seen the Murud beach, also Goa. These are the examples of coastal watersheds. So in these watersheds, they may partly be urban, like Goa. It is partly urban and in dynamic contact with the sea. So their hydrology is considerably influenced by backwater from wave and tidal action of the sea. Usually these watersheds will receive high rainfall because it is in constant contact with the sea, mostly of the cyclonic type, due to do not have channel control in flow and are vulnerable to severe local flooding because they are in constant touch with the sea. The water table is also very high, and as they are in contact with the sea, the salt water intrusion, the salt water will intrude into the pure coastal aquifers, which will threaten the health of coastal aquifers. These are the salt water will mix into the coastal aquifers, which is the source of fresh water supply. Next is the marsh or wetland watershed, in which the lands are almost flat and comprise of swamps, marshes or watercourses. These are rich in wildlife and plenty of vegetation. Evaporation also is dominant. The rainfall is normally high, but the infiltration is minimum. You can see the infiltration of the water in the soil is minimum, but rainfall is high. Most of the rainfall will become runoff in these types of watershed. Next is the mixed watershed, which will comprise of land use of or combination of two or more land use. So in India, most of the watersheds are of mixed nature, where agriculture, forest, settlements, land use occurs. So you can see agriculture and urban, agriculture and rural. These land use are most common in our Maharashtra state. Next is the watershed characteristics. So we'll see one by one. First is the basin area. So you can define the basin area is the area contained within the vertical projection Vertical projection means if you look from the top, if you project the basin from the top of the drainage, divide on the horizontal plane. So you divide the basin on the horizontal plane, it's called as basin area. It comprises of stream areas, all the areas within the stream, and the interbasin areas. Next is the basin length. So it can be defined as in more than one way, or it can be defined in three ways. So you can see below there are three lines, 1, 2, 3. So first definition is the line number 1. So the greatest straight line distance between any two points on the perimeter. So you can see here it is the maximum distance between any two points. Number 1, line number 1, that is the violet line. So it is the maximum distance between the any two points on the perimeter of the watershed is called as basin length. This is the first definition. Second definition, the greatest distance between the outlet and any point on the perimeter. You can see here, this is the outlet. This is the outlet. So the remotest point to the outlet. So this point you can join by the, you can see here, this is the remotest point. You can see here, this is the remotest point, line number 2. So this point is joined by a straight line to the outlet. So this is the second. And last, the length of the main stream from its source projected to the perimeter to the outlet. So you can see the line number 3. So this is the outlet, as we have seen. This is the outlet, and below is the source, starting point of the, that is source, and this blue line, blue curve is the main stream. So this is the three definitions of the basin length. Next is the shape index. The shape index, it is denoted by the shape L square by A. So it determines the shape, or it denotes the shape of the watershed. So SI is given as L square divided by A, where A is the area of the watershed in kilometer square and L is the length of the watershed in kilometer. Next is the slope of the watershed. The average slope is represented as mn into 100 upon A, where n is the total length of the contour within the watershed, n is the contour interval, and A is the area of water. These definitions just you have to remember. In case of small watershed, if the size of the watershed is small, the average slope is estimated as delta E upon L, where delta E is the difference between elevations means height, elevations of highest and lowest point of the watershed. So delta E is the elevation difference between highest and lowest point of the watershed, and L is the length of the watershed. So it is the ratio of difference between elevation of the highest and lowest point of the watershed to the length of the watershed. So that ratio is called as slope. Next is the topographical characteristics. So first characteristic is the form factor, which is the inverse of shape index. The shape index was given as L square upon A. So form factor is given as A upon L square. So form factor is defined as ratio of basin area to the basin length. So form factor is the ratio of basin area to the square of basin length. It is a dimensionless number. The value of form factor should always be less than 0.754 for for a perfectly circular type of watershed. For a watershed to be purely circular, because circular type of watershed is the ideal shape of watershed. Smaller the ff or the form factor, you can see if it is very less than 0.754, you can say that it is of more elongated type, means it is length is higher as compared to the width of the watershed. Next is the compactness coefficient or CC. So you can see here the ratio of perimeter of watershed, the ratio of perimeter of watershed. So you can see here, this is the inner, is the perimeter of the watershed to the circumference of the circular area, which equals to the area of watershed. So you have to draw a circle which equals, whose area equals the area of this watershed. You have to draw an imaginary circle whose area will equal to the area of watershed. So that circumference of that circle, so the ratio of perimeter of watershed to the circumference of that circle is equal to compactness coefficient. So it is dependent only on slope and independent of size. So ratio you can see here, perimeter PB upon 2 pi r. So this r, this circle is that circle whose area is equals to the area of the actual water. So that is the compactness coefficient. Next is the elongation ratio. So it is the ratio of diameter of circle to the same area as the basin to the maximum basin length. So it is the diameter of a circle of the same area. Here also you have to draw a imaginary circle which has the same area as that of the watershed to the maximum basin length. So you can see here formula, diameter is the 2r upon length of the basin. ER is equal to 2r upon LB. It is usually 0.6 to 1. The range is 0.6 to 1. Next is the circulatory ratio. It is the ratio of basin area to the area of circle. Again you have to draw an imaginary circle, but in this case you have to not draw a circle whose area is equal but whose perimeter is equal, having equal perimeter as the perimeter of drainage basin. So that constitutes the circulatory ratio. So it's a measure of how the circular watershed is. So CR is AB upon AP. Ideal value is 0.4 to 0.5. Next characteristics are streams density. It is defined as number of streams per kilometer. Number of streams per kilometer. So DS is NS upon E. So a drainage basin with a large number of tributaries or channels has higher stream densities than the basin with very few channels. Next is the drainage density. Again it is the ratio of the total length of all the streams. Here it was only number of streams, number of tributaries to the number of streams upon area. Here total length of all the streams to the area, only the difference is length, and here it was stream density and drainage density. It is a measure of how well or how poorly watershed is drained by stream channels. Next are the geomorphological characteristics. First is the stream order. So it is a degree of stream branching within a watershed. How branches are developed, how how on the first order, second order, and third order. So first order stream has no branches. Order streams have no branches. When two or more first order streams join, it forms a second order stream. Similarly, when two or more second order streams join, it forms a third order streams. Based on this, the bifurcation ratio is developed. So it is the ratio of number of streams of any order to the number of streams to of next order. So you can see, if you have to find out first order stream, so number of streams of first order to the number of streams of second order, that is called as bifurcation ratio. Its range is 2 to 4. So based on this, the problem can be come in the examination also. So it is a basin has an area of 26,000 kilometer square, perimeter of 960 kilometer, and length of 230 kilometers. So you have to determine, calculate form factor, compactness coefficient, elongation ratio, and circulatory ratio. So first again we have to calculate all these factors. So given area 26,000 kilometers square, LB 230 kilometers, and PB 960 kilometers. Only three things are given: area, perimeter, and length. So form factor, it is a very simple formula. FF is equal to A upon LB square. So we know A, we know LB. So based on this, there is no need of brain. You just have to use the calci. FF is equal to 26,000 divided by 230 square. It comes as 0.49. Next, compactness coefficient. Compactness coefficient formula you all know, PB upon 2 pi. Once again we will see the definition of CC. So it is the ratio of perimeter of watershed, PB upon 2 pi. So it is the ratio of perimeter of watershed to the circumference of circular area, which equals to the area of watershed. So you have to draw an imaginary circle whose area will equal to the area of watershed. You know the area of watershed, which is 26,000 kilometers square. Everybody knows the area of watershed is given, which is 26,000 kilometers square. So this area 26,000 kilometers square is equal to pi r square. So you have to draw the circle whose area of circle is pi r square is equal to the area of watershed, 26,000 kilometers square. So from this the r will become, so consider this as small r will become 91 kilometers. After doing this calculation, r will become 91 kilometers. From this CC is equal to PB everybody knows 960 upon 2 into pi into 91, which comes as 1.679. Number 3, ER is equal to 2R upon LB. ER is equal to 2R upon LB. So here also the area, you have to draw a circle of same area, and so we can consider this R as 91 kilometers. So 2 into 91 upon 230 is equal to 0.79. Last, area CR or circulatory ratio is equal to AB upon AP. So AB is the area of basin, which we know as 26,000 kilometers square. AP is the area of circle. In circulatory ratio, it is the area of circle whose perimeter or whose circumference is equal to the perimeter of the watershed. So we all know the perimeter of watershed is 960 kilometers. and the circumference of this circle is 2 pi r. Circumference of the circle is 2 pi r. So from this formula you have to find out r dash 960 upon 2 pi. So new r dash for this CR is 152.86 kilometers. After finding r dash, you can calculate the AP or area of perimeter circle by r dash square. So CR is equal to 26,000 AB. AB is 26,000 upon AP. AP is pi into r dash square, which comes as 0.354. So such numericals can come in the examination. Thank you for the lecture, attending the lecture.